Hello everybody, Jeff Cross here, and we're going to put this video on YouTube, but I decided to put together a little presentation on how to help with officiating, whether it be basketball, football, or soccer, volleyball, whatever sport that you're doing, baseball, softball, whatever it is. I believe that there's three things that we need to make sure we really address in our officiating world that we live in, and we got to find a way to get new people in. We got to find a way to keep the new people in, and we have to find a way to make the new people to accelerate and be better and be part of the upper elite part of officiating, so that we make room for more new people. So one of the things that comes across to me in officiating is what we need to try to address is, how do we get new people? How do we do it? Multiple times we come across kids or young adults, and we have a chance to ask them about officiating or ask them if they want to try. But we don't do that. Our best bet is to get a past athlete. In NCAA basketball, what we have to do is when we do our pre-season camps or pre-season, I don't know what you want to call those, like a scrimmage or whatever it is, we have to talk to the players, and we have to let them know that, what the new rules or whatever it is. But one of the things we say at the end is, seniors, if you don't, once you get your degree, what are you going to do? There's plenty of opportunities to officiate. Plenty of opportunities to officiate. So we can take those graduates and from college and then try to pursue them to get them into camps or whatever it is. So I think we can do that with high school. I think I think there should be a time where our local association, whether it be RVOA or TROA or whoever that is, we need to find a way to get into a setting that we have seniors, just seniors. Back in the day, the Army recruits used to always come and talk to us, and they would just tell us, okay, you're getting ready to graduate, these are some opportunities you have. I think we go to my school, Grace, has a career day. Well, what do they have? They have police officers there, they have business personnel, they have realtor agents, they have all these people that are telling them what's out there for them to do. Maybe it would help us if we have a representative from officials, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, say, hey, this can be an opportunity for you to achieve some, not necessarily, you don't have to make it a profession, but it's better than flipping burgers while you're trying to get through college. And then once you get through college, you can actually make that into a little bit more money, but a little bit more of a instead of just a habit or a practice. You're actually going to try and do it. But we need to ask those people, because it's weird how we always ask people about other things. If you here at the Journey Church, we ask people, hey, you going to church? We do that all the time, but we don't ask people to get into officiating. So all right, so now we've asked them, we have officials. Now what can we do? We have, TROA is having a camp coming up in a couple weeks. Baseball has them. Basketball's been having them all summer. So we all do those things. We have camps. But when we get them there, what are we doing to help them get there? So once they get there, what are we doing to help them? Funny story about me, when I first started football, I refereed football for 2 years before anybody asked me to go to a TROA meeting. Nobody. Isn't that interesting how that works? Because I don't know if they're afraid to ask or afraid to talk about it or whatever it is. So we need to get those young kids at these TROA meetings or at these scenarios where we get them signed up. And I believe where we're failing when we get these young officials, or we get these even just new officials, we'll call them, because they could be 35. I was young when I started baseball, but I was middle-aged when I started basketball. How do we keep them? We can't just say, here's a black and white striped shirt, here's some, gray pants or black pants, and here's a whistle, and here's a chest protector, whatever that is, say, good luck to you. We have to train them. And how do we train them? We spend a lot of time not training because we're afraid that they might lose. The person who's doing the training might lose the game. If I teach him or her how to referee the game, will they take my job? Now I got whatever, 15 varsity games a year. I've recruited this young official, And now, if I teach them how to be a varsity official, now I go down to 8 games, and now I've lost 2 games. And that's the tough part about it. I am here to tell you, there are way more games than there are officials. So train them to be good. So how do we teach them the rules? We do this. We get them to meetings, we get them there, and we say, okay, here's your uniform, and I'm going to give you some midget football games. It'll be fine. We don't have to worry about a thing. You just go up, and it'll be fine. They go and they work their 3 football games or their 3 summer league basketball games, and they get whatever, $60 or $100 in their pocket, and they feel great. And then, now they go back next week, and they say, all right, everything's going to go smooth again. And then they get yelled at by a coach, or then they get to do this. And then we sit back, and we, as experienced officials, what do? We go, yeah, I don't know if Joe Blow's got it. Yeah, Joe Blow, or, Joe Smith is not doing very good. He doesn't know how to handle those coaches, or doesn't know how to handle those players, or whatever that is. Doesn't know the rules very well. Well, what have we done to teach them that? So I am going to put it to you this way. So Chad, Rick, come on up. I want to show you something here. So this is the interesting thing. This is what I believe we're doing. So I'm going to be the referee. Okay, Rick, I just want you to make a basketball, like a basketball thing, right? All right, let me scoot back just a little bit. Nope, scoot back. There you go. All right. Here's the ball. I'm the referee. I'm the young referee. Okay, and I'll just make the decisions right now, okay? All I want you to do, I'm not going to tell you the rules, but I want you to go put that ball in the hoop. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. Keep trying. I know the rules. Nope, that's wrong. I know the rules. Will you do them right? No. The rules are. So now you don't know what you've done wrong, right? I keep on telling you that's wrong, and you still continue to go out and work. When really the rule was, because I just know what the rule is, the rule was you needed to walk up, put it in your left hand, and then make the basket. That was the rule. But I didn't tell you the rule, did I?
No.
So it's hard for you to know that, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks. So what are we doing? So that's what we're doing. We're taking officials, we're putting them out there, and we're not helping them know the rules. We're keeping them to ourselves, and then when they go out there, he messed up. He messed up again. He's just not getting it right. And you have to continue. Were you about to give up, Chad?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. He was like, listen, I just don't know. I don't know what else to do. Because I wasn't helping you with the rules. How much easier would that have been if I said, keep it in your right hand, walk over, put it in your left hand, put it in the basket? You'd be like, it's easier. I got it, right? That's what we're doing with officials. We're doing that. We're taking officials and we're putting them in a predicament where they don't know anything. They just don't. All they know is to show up. The chains, the McDonald's, the Subways, all these big corporations have it figured out because they spend millions and millions of dollars in training. They don't spend a whole bunch of money in trying to get people there. They spend money is when they get there, we're going to train them so they can do it properly. So that's how we retain new officials opposed to, young officials, whatever that is. So that's what we need to do. So here we are. So now we've got them in this, whether it be an experienced official or a new official. How do we take that training that we've given them, and now we have to train the people that we're working with? We have to train our other partners. We have to train the coaches. So I call it communication for referees. So what do we need to know? The rules, right? We've already talked about that. We talked about the rules. So a simple rule. If we go to, let's just say baseball. A simple rule is any part of the ball has to hit any part of the plate in any part of the strike zone. Right? Would you agree? Everybody agrees. If I call a strike that's not a strike, what I've done is tell the catcher that's a strike. Even though it's not within the rule books. If a balk would be, so a little bit more complex rule of a balk is if I start and then I stop, then I start again, that would be a balk. So if I let a kid do that, what I've trained them to do is say, okay, player, pitcher, it's okay for you to start, stop, and then start again. In basketball, if I pick up my pivot foot and I call a travel, that's not a travel. It's not a travel until I pick up my pivot foot and then I set my pivot foot back down. That would be a travel. So as soon as I call a travel for picking your pivot foot up, I've called a travel. I've trained those kids, coaches, fans, everyone that's travel. I've trained coaches, kids, fans, everyone that the ball doesn't have to hit strike zone in order for it to be a strike. That's where we're training. So we need to really, really work hard at understanding that when we come out and officiate a game, whether it be whatever sport it is, we need to enforce the rules as written, because when we enforce the rules as written, we've trained them in that scenario. You know, funny story, when I first started umpiring baseball, I say funny because I made it through it, but I was, 18, 19 years old, and I said, I'm just out of high school, so I'm going to umpire baseball. Played baseball forever. Long, long time. Ever since I was 6, 7 years old, always played it. Thought I knew the rules. I was going to be a baseball umpire, and I took the IHSA test, and back when they came, and it was you filled in little bubbles, you had to do 100 questions, and I did it at 3 or 4 hours at work, off to the mail. Started calling athletic directors and schools, and started getting games and summer games, and I had it all figured out. So, yep, sent my test in. I'll have that back pretty soon. Back then you had to get an 80 out of 100 in order to pass. I got like a 43 because I was trained by the umpires who then train the coaches who then train us players that this is how the rules are. When really what it came down to was either the umpires officially either didn't know the rules or they were bending them in a way to where it would go faster for them, or bend them in a way where it would cause less headaches. And then I just took that, and then I had to take it up on myself to know the rules better. So, bring it to the main part is, it's funny, you just received a phone call about, coaches and not being happy with the umpires and how we're letting coaches do so many things. Our job as officials is we need to train these coaches on what is acceptable behavior. What is acceptable behavior? Because what I think is acceptable behavior and what you think is acceptable and what you think is acceptable could be 3 totally different things. But I'm going to just out of the basketball rule book. Unsporting act is disrespectfully addressing an official. That's just a simple one. Disrespectfully addressing an official. I bet if we put 100 people in the room and asked all 100 officials, how many times have you been disrespectfully addressed or saw one of your partners disrespectfully addressed if it never got addressed, if you never handled it by unsporting foul, technical foul, team warning, whatever that is. I bet it's happened, if you put 100 people on, I bet it's happened at least 75% of the time. It happens all the time because what are we trying to do? We're trying to, we don't want to cause a wave. We don't want to, we don't want this coach to like us, or it's a 40-point ball game. Why mess with it? Whatever that is. So I'm going to put it to you this way. So here I go into the restaurant of choice. I won't say the name because this is going to go on the internet and they may sue me. So if I go into a restaurant and I ask for a sandwich of the foot-long variety, and they ask me, what kind of bread do you want? White, wheat, honey oats, whatever the kind is, and I say white. And they take that white bread and then they cut it and they pass it to the next person, okay? But the person who cuts the white bread makes a mistake and cuts wheat and passes it to the next person. And now this next person looks over to the person and cuts the bread and goes off on him. What are you doing, you idiot? Didn't you hear him say white bread? You don't have any business cutting this bread. I believe what will happen is the manager will come out and say, those actions are unacceptable. You could take the rest of the night off. You're going to be, you need to, whatever that is, you're going to have to go home early. You're going to be written up for some sort of disciplinary action. But in our world, in the officiating world, we're on the football field, and we get a coach that yells at us and says, what are you doing? You don't have any clue of what the rules are. Why are you doing that? What do? It's okay, it's okay. Or we ignore it, right? We ignore it because it's a 30-point ball game or a 40-point ball game, or sometimes we handle it. So that's how we have to think of those things. Would we allow what this coach is saying to me or to my partner, would it be allowed in a professional environment? So let's just say a player comes up to the official and is waving his arms and upset and I don't want to say calling you names, but being very boisterous and loud. We'll just put it that way. And you handle it. You say, that's a warning or a technical foul or a personal foul, whatever that is, whatever that penalty is in that sport. And the coach says to me, well, what did he do? Well, he wasn't doing anything wrong. I would look at that coach and say, okay, so would you let that kid act like that in your classroom? And they're all going to say no. They're all going to say no. If the principal says to you, well, why'd you kick him out of the game? All right, would you let this coach walk into your principal's office and treat you like he just treated me? Would you let that happen? No. We have to think of the officiating world and in the field, the floor, the whatever arena we're in, is we have to keep it in a professional environment and quit trying to ignore the fact that they've said something that's unacceptable, and then we go, okay, let's just move on because I don't want to cause any waves. A true leader, a true boss, a true person in charge of that class is going to make sure that that gets taken care of. I can remember having those teachers that were very strict in our classroom, and nobody messed around. If they messed around, they were penalized. That's all there was to it. And then we also we know we can go walk in a classroom and go, we got it made with this teacher. This teacher isn't going to do anything. He's going to, we got it made. Coaches, athletic directors, players, they see that in officials too. It's just human nature to see the blood in the water, so like we're good. We don't have to worry about anything. So I challenge everyone to take that and move towards that. So all right. So what are the things we could say? Here's what I use top secret, so don't tell anybody, okay? This is what I use for me to try and diffuse situations. If I have a potential 3-second call, we'll say I'm getting ready to call 3 seconds. They shoot the ball, now 3 seconds is off, ball goes in, somebody calls a timeout, and the coach goes, that's 3 seconds. That should be 3 seconds. First thing we do is, nope, it wasn't 3 seconds, they shot the ball. Nope, they weren't in there long enough. Nope, it's not 3 seconds. Nope, I'm watching it. Nope, it's not. Nope. How about, yes, it would have been 3 seconds if they wouldn't have shot the ball. Let's switch the gears a little bit. Instead of telling them no, agree with them. Yep. I had a play where offensive foul happens, somebody gets pushed from behind, runs a kid over. Coach wants an offensive foul. What does the official do? They go, nope, push, nope, push. Instead of saying, yes, that would have been an offensive foul if they wouldn't have got pushed from behind. And the coach goes, oh yeah, they see what I'm glad. So that's what happens. When we say no, my wife does it to me all the time, right? Can I go out? No. Can I watch TV? No. Whatever, I'm just joking. But we get defensive when we hear that word, no. So let's agree with them. When we agree with them, what we're doing is we're telling the coach we saw what they saw. We understand where you're coming from, but you have to realize that there was a rule broken prior to that, or there's a rule that happened, a violation that happened before that other penalty. So, all right. So, when do we talk to players? In some sports it could be a little differently. Baseball, football could be a little differently, but I've come to the conclusion that I probably would never talk to a player unless being spoken to. Because what happens is I can get distracted And let's say if I was on the football field, back when I was on the football field, if I was talking to a player, and meanwhile, let's just say the coach is trying to talk to that player, and now the player is listening to me, and now the coach is upset because the player is not listening to the coach, and meanwhile I was talking to the official, and the coach goes, what's the problem? Why can't you talk to me? Or in a basketball arena, if I'm talking to a player about a potential missed call or whatever it is, guess what? Now I'm distracted. In basketball, the game's still going on. And now I missed another foul. And now this coach is upset with me because I missed a foul because I'm talking to a player instead of just not saying anything. So many times in the officiating world, we speak in general because it makes us feel better. We're trying to make ourselves feel better. We're trying to relay this message on we don't want to have a penalty, or we don't want to have a problem with these kids, or we feel like we need to speak to them. I think all the communication you know, with the head coach. So let me just put it to you this way. So, because in the basketball arena, many times we tell people 3 seconds. What do we tell them? We tell them get out of the lane, get out of the lane. So we don't have to call 3 seconds. We do that all the times. How about? I'm trying to think of a different scenario. In baseball, if we tell the catcher, hey, when you catch it, don't jerk it back in. That might be a strike. We tell them that. Or in football, we tell them, hey, watch it. Your hands are coming around, so it could be a hold here. That's close to a hold, so be careful. Keep your hands inside. Whatever that is, we're trying to prevent those things. So, in basketball, 3 seconds we tell them get out. So, do we do this? Do we do, as they pick up their pivot foot, before it's a violation, do we yell out to the player, don't put your pivot foot down, it's going to be a travel, to prevent them from violating? As the pitch coming in and it's outside, or let's say it's going to be a close play, do we yell out, make sure you leave the tag on them so I can call them out? In football, do we say, as they're coming around the corner and we see a guy getting ready to hit somebody in the back, do we yell out, don't hit him in the back because I'm going to have to throw a penalty? We don't do those things. How come we feel like we need to prevent some but not others? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I have a funny story about an official who may or may not see this. He would always say, refereeing basketball, he'd be like, hands, watch your hands, don't foul, straight up. It's all night long. He'd say it all night long. And they still continue to foul. And he would get mad. He'd rub his head and go, just stop fouling. Finally, I told him, I said, you understand, if they stop fouling, they won't need us. If they stop doing those things, if they stop violating, if they stop committing fouls, they don't need us. They won't need striped shirts. So, unfortunately, you want them to foul because, you're looking for fouls, but you just can't prevent it all. So, I just think that we spend a lot of time preventing things when we would just call it, because what happens if the next guy doesn't? What happens if the next guy says, well, the last guy told me that if I wrapped around, you would give me a warning so I wouldn't get called for the penalty. How come that happened? The last guy told me get out of the lane, and you didn't, so now you called 3 seconds. So we're not training. We're training in the wrong direction. We're training that we're going to do things differently. So do that. All right. Responding to the players, we talked about that, addressing the coaches, agree with them. So before we get done, I'm going to say this. We need to work. We need to put special effort into getting new officials and finding different ways, and then follow up on that. Let's not just say it. Let's go out and do it. We need to make special effort, and when we have new officials, we need to teach them as much as possible. Don't just give them the striped shirt and the whistle and say, I hope good luck to you. I'll make sure you keep a good calendar. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to walk with them. We want to be able to help them. A good friend of mine told me this, and I use it all the time. We need to network and communicate. We network and connect with people that are where we want to be. We have to network and connect with people that are where we are. And we have to network and connect with people that are where we want to be. If we spread that out, it'll really, really help get more officials into the game, keep them in the game, and get them to the next level, and then we can get that circle going bigger. It's gonna be hard. So my saying is, all summer long has been do hard things. Do hard things, because the easy part is just getting your shirt. The hard part is getting your shirt and talking to somebody and maybe even reaching out to someone that might need some help. That's the hard part. The easy part is staying at home and not worrying about what the next guy's doing. Because if we have 100 people, 100 officials, and we have certain scenarios that happen just on the football field or the baseball field or the basketball arena, whatever that is, and it's very difficult situations. Believe it or not, my wife could care less about that. She wants me to, be happy. She wants good things for me to happen. But if I come home and tell her what I had a fight, had to kick out 7 people, and I had 5 technical fouls, and it was, I had to get chased off by the police escorted me off. My wife cannot help me with that. But the people who can are the people I connect with, communicate with, whether they be the ones that want to be where I am, whether they be the people that are already where I'm at, or whether they be the people that where I want to be. They are going to help me through those scenarios. It is, what do they say? It's iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. We spend a lot of time thinking we can do this by ourselves. This is a sport. This is an avocation. This is a profession, whatever you want to call it. It cannot, under no circumstances, be done by yourself. We need to take as many people as we can. We need to get as many people into the profession or the avocation, and we need to keep people in it as long as we can, whether it be 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 100 years. We need to really use all those resources in order to help us retain officials and keep them in for the long haul. So do hard things, and then make sure you communicate and connect with people that are where you were, where you are, and where you want to be. All right, thanks.